Hey girl, I see you've come a long, long way. You're not alone anymore. Come sit with me and tell me your story. You've come a long way, girl. Pulled yourself out and crossed the nest. Those were some dark times back then, but it's all over now. You're not alone anymore. Come sit with me and tell me your story. This is Truckin' with Tamie, where your journey's heard and your voice is free. You're not alone, come share your story with me.
Hello. Before we get started today, I want to remind our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on Trucking with Tamie are those of myself and my guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station or its affiliates. This program is for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional, legal, or safety advice. And now that that's out of the way, I'm your host, Tamie. My guest today, Jennifer, has become a strong voice in the trucking industry. She's known for her commitment to raising standards, supporting drivers, and calling out the gaps that too many people ignore. And now she's taken that mission even farther with the launch of the Hart Driven Foundation. It's an initiative focused on creating real support and real impact for drivers across the industry. I can't talk today. Welcome to the show, Jennifer.
Thank you, Tamie.
I so appreciate you joining me today. So, for all those drivers and listeners out there that don't know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about your journey into trucking? Because it started not in the office, it started out on the highway.
Well, it was about 26 years ago. I decided to follow in my father and my uncle's footsteps and become a truck driver. So since then, I've been an owner-operator and company driver and a government services driver and all kinds of drivers. So it was time to get out. My body was telling me it was time. So that's when I decided to do something else.
Yeah, the road is rough on our bodies. I mean, I did this video the other day. It was a progression. Like, have you taken your first photo when you started driving versus when you get out of the truck? And it's like, look what the road did to me.
It's not good. It's really not good.
So 26 years of driving, as a woman, there's a lot of challenges 26 years ago, much more than what we face today. How was your experience when you first started driving?
Well, to be honest, it was really hard. Trucking school was a little bit of a challenge because I was the only woman in the class. And so they were like, oh, let the woman drive, or, they call me gal, or, one of those things. But I got through that. And then I went to, I won't name the name, but I went to a company and they put me with a trainer that really was not, I felt really uncomfortable with him. Let's just say that. And so it was a man and we were together all the time. And it just was a very uncomfortable situation.
Yeah, I hear that a lot.
And then as a driver, I've got told on the CB, you need to go back home and, be in the kitchen. What are you doing out here? There's no bathrooms. Still to this day, there's no bathrooms sometimes for women in a dock or a truck stop. It's just different for women, and you have to think about your safety at all times. You have to look around you and where can you park because you don't want to be in the dark, and you have to lock your door with the seatbelt through it, and all those things you have to think about as a woman.
Yeah, there was a conversation yesterday, and I watched a video of a woman female drivers, make sure you park in well-lit truck stops. And, when I came out here, that was one of the big things I heard was don't park in the back row. Don't park in the back row and then walk between trucks up to the truck stop because, a lot of women have been assaulted doing that. And, that's the bad part of our industry. And it's not all male drivers. I mean, there's some great male drivers out here. But as anything in this world, you got the good and the bad.
Yes.
So with all those challenges that you were facing, what was your favorite part? Because I get tired of talking about the bad. We all know the trucking industry has its shadowy parts, but it also has a lot of good. What was your favorite part of being a driver?
Honestly, is the freedom of the open road. Yes, they tell you where to go, and yes, they tell you when to be there, but the rest of the time is on your own. You can sleep when you want, do what you want. It was just a lot of freedom, and I'm not the best at having a boss over me saying you should do this and that. I'm just not really good at that. So,
Right.
The freedom, really, what it was for me.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of being micromanaged either, so I completely get that. One of my questions I like to ask drivers about their experience is, most of us, if not all of us, have a horror story or a hard first week or first load, generally when we were on our own, when we're away from the trainer and, we're having to figure out the solo gig. Did you have one of those?
Not really. I wasn't ever by myself. I actually rode with my partner. So I had that, but can I tell you another story that is
you can
story? All right.
Yes.
So I started with government services, which is you carry everything that explodes. And it was my very first load, and it was 40,000 pounds of dynamite, and it was pouring rain and lightning and thundering. I had to stop and get fuel. So I'm standing there, and it's lightning and thundering, and I'm already nervous.
So lightning, thunder, dynamite, fuel. Wow.
Right.
That's a combination.
So I'm sitting there and I'm, waiting for the fuel to go because it's, sometimes takes 15 or so minutes. I'm sitting there and I'm getting more and more nervous because the lightning is getting closer and closer and closer. Well, I had just put the handle back into the holder, and lightning struck like real close. Oh. And for just a minute, I had thought that the truck blew up because it was that loud. But then I laughed at myself because if that had happened, I wouldn't know it.
No. You wouldn't be there to be like, did it happen? That's like a mini panic attack. I mean, that's heart racing, sweating. That is definitely a moment in trucking. So lightning's a big deal with dynamite. I haven't ever hauled dynamite. I've hauled hazmat, but not dynamite. Are there special rules for hauling dynamite?
There is. Really anything that does blow up, depending on how much it blows up. There's just different rules about, where you can park, and because it was government, we had to have one of us up all the time. So it has to be guarded at all times. But really just driving different, no. And you really get used to it. It gets to the point where you just don't even think about what's back there. I mean, I've carried warheads and torpedoes and all kinds of things.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you a couple questions about the government thing before we head over and talk about what you did when you got out of the truck, because one of my favorite things to do is to highlight niches in the trucking industry. And everybody gets tired of hauling, driving, or reefer, right? And they like the specialized industries. How did you get into it? Is this something you did as an owner operator, or is this something you did as a company driver?
So I started as a company driver. I called the company, and it happened to be like an hour from my house. I lived in Missouri, and they were offering crazy amounts of money. And I was
I
like,
guess so.
well, how bad can it be, right? How bad can it be? So I called them up, and of course, there's a lot of paperwork because you have to have a government clearance to carry
That's
these
what.
loads.
Okay, that's my question. What
Mhm.
hoops do you have to go through for that?
You have to have a government clearance. You have to get your fingerprints done. You have to do a major background check. You have to have a conversation with an FBI agent. You have to just all kinds of things. But
Did
it
sorry, did
no,
you have to have like one of those personality tests, or make
no,
sure that you're psychologically not compromised where you're going to drive it into a building or anything?
no, not at all. That probably wouldn't have been
Mental
good.
wellness
No, I'm just
check.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, mental wellness check.
Right.
I think
No,
most drivers would fail. Isolation, we're all a little off.
right. You have to be
Okay,
to
go
be a
ahead.
truck driver. You have to
You
be a
do.
little off. You have to.
Yeah. I'd be like, huh. So, and you have to have your hazmat, of course. So, very thorough background check, FBI. That's a lot.
It is a lot, but it's worth it.
So, pay six figure or yeah, six figures, I would imagine.
So I became an owner operator, and I was an owner operator doing government services for about 10 years.
Ooh, that's a long
My
time.
best year was $487,000, and
Nice.
I'm not exaggerating at all.
And that's after all the fuel and expenses
Oh
and
no,
everything.
no, that's
Oh,
all to the truck.
okay. All
So
to
my
truck.
part came out of that, and but
Yeah.
yeah, that the truck itself made that much.
That's still really good. I mean, they say the average, try and do what 250. So that's almost double what you would expect for a truck.
Yeah, right.
That's pretty awesome. So, but it's a lot of liability, especially as an owner operator. I can't imagine the cost of the insurance.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
Luckily the I drove under their authority, so luckily it's a little bit of a discount because of who they are, and they're big, and you don't have to, it's not just me trying to get it. It's
Right.
it's a group of people trying,
Yeah.
get this.
Yeah. That is much better. That is awesome. So, I'm glad you're still here. After 10 years of hauling big boom stuff. That that was probably pretty scary, and sketchy at times.
It was. It was
So go ahead.
it was very scary sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. So where was the coolest place you've ever delivered to?
Oh, that's hard.
Is it? Well, yeah, with what you hauled, you probably did a lot of cool stuff.
Okay,
Not
so
just bumping docks.
coolest place was Salem, Virginia. And where the dock was, it was near the port, but not in the port. And we backed up to the dock, and you were looking right over the water, and the sun was coming up. When we got there, it was just beautiful.
That sounds beautiful.
It was.
Tranquil. Aw, I love that. That's, there's a lot of drivers out there that only bump docks, and so they don't get some of the cool places that some of us have been. So I'd like them to know there's a whole world out there that they're missing out on if they're just bumping docks.
Yes, I had to learn. I had an accident in 14, and it was not good. And that's the day I decided that I would take the time to see things and do things. And prior to that, I'd pretty much been bumping docks.
Yeah.
So
it was a huge transition. Was it? I mean, obviously you thought it was well worth it in every aspect.
it was well worth it. It was a lot of paperwork and a lot of headache and all of those things, but it was well worth it.
So being in the industry, obviously at some point you were like, there are some serious issues. Did you start advocating when you were still behind the wheel, or did all of that come after?
Yes, I have. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at keeping my mouth shut. So, and I think that's a trucker trait too. I have been advocating for us as an industry for as long as I've been in the truck. To anyone who would listen to me, because honestly, I don't like how truckers are looked at. It's like we are a necessity that they have to just deal with, rather than we're their biggest asset.
Right.
They don't treat us that way. Most of the time, you go into a company, and where the driver's lounge is in the back, and it's dark, and it's the room that nobody else wanted. That's
Yeah.
trucker lounge. Like we're an afterthought. We should have been the first thought. Myself, I think, but that's not how it is.
My favorite is driver appreciation when they do dinners and the drivers are the only ones that don't get it, the office. But if you have an office party, the drivers aren't allowed to partake or, get it. And I think that is very a slap in the face. I think that's my biggest thing in that regard is how some of the companies handle their driver appreciation. It's like, oh, you appreciate us so well.
You ever notice that the truck stops always appreciate us way more than the companies?
Yeah, because they're charging us over for every single thing we do there. My
Yes.
gosh. Let's not talk about them, how they clean the showers and want $20 and more. Whew.
Showers were $5 when I started.
I wish. No, okay. I have to say there are a few places, small mom pops, that I've paid free $5 or like $8 for out here, and they were
Really?
much nicer than the bigger ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so you developed Co-Driver LLC.
I did.
Okay, and Co-Driver LLC, it's a resource for drivers.
It is. I have both a driver and a company side. I talk to drivers one-on-one, help them in any transition, whether it be from company to owner operator or a new company, or they're brand new out of school and they're freaking out, or I'm just available. And I don't charge drivers nothing. I talk to them. If I'm available, I'm on the phone or doing this or whatever I can do, because I'm here for the drivers. That's my key thing. So I will. Sorry, go ahead.
No. So when you're on the phone with those new drivers, what are some of the biggest mistakes or misconceptions or circumstances that you're dealing with them?
To be honest, they are terrified.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, they are scared. Because, how do I say this gently? The new generation is
They're
not
much more timid.
Yes, and not a lot. They're not made of the same stuff as us. And well, I don't know. You look kind of young, so you might be.
I am not. I am not. I am. I'm not going to say my age, but my oldest daughter is 34.
Oh, so we're probably close. We're probably close. So yeah, it's just I try to help drivers in any way I can, because I went to 7 days of trucking driving school.
7. Oh my gosh. And I complain about the 2 and 3 week ones.
Whew. 7. When I got out, I was terrified. I didn't know what I was really doing. I could drive a truck, yes, but anything else, I knew nothing. They don't tell you nothing. They don't prepare you for nothing. They don't tell you you're going to have to go through a complete transition on how you think about home, on how you deal with your family, your friends. It's a complete life change. One of my favorite sayings is truck driving is not a job, it's a lifestyle.
Yes.
So it's so difficult, and people don't realize it until they get there. So that's really why I started Co-Driver, is because I would like to, all those that come behind me, I would like to in some way help that transition, because it is so awful and hard.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have the drivers. I mean, we do have a lot of timid drivers. We also have those ones that don't know when to say when. You know, they're just like, whoom, and there's no self-awareness.
No.
It's like they're playing a video game, right? And they just have 100 do-overs. And I think that's worse than the timid ones.
Yes, I agree with you.
And there's that. So, with your co-driver and your advocacy work, what do you think are some things that the industry still isn't getting right from your 26 years of experience?
Well, of course, transparency in loads, I think, is a problem. The fact that you're going to get paid this much, but you have no idea what the load started out as. You have no idea. So you don't know if you're getting a good deal, a bad deal, or what's happening. So I think that's a big problem, transparency. Another problem is just that there is no support. There is no support on the company side. They don't give you any. They're never thought about giving you any. And I'm trying to get them to even think about it. Whether it be support for during their transition, whether it be support for getting you home when you need to get home, whether it be support of you're sick or you're hurt and at home and you can't drive, and whatever the situation is, they should support a driver as a whole driver, not just where they meet the truck, where that body meets the truck. To me, I feel like the company only thinks about the part where you get in the truck.
Right.
And it starts rolling, rather than thinking about the whole driver as a human.
Of course, because they want you to stay out 2-3 weeks. Now it's 2-3 months, no consideration for home time. Not all companies. I do want to put that out there, because Tammy's not hating on everybody, but there are those companies. I had a young lady that sent me a screenshot of a conversation she had with a company recently that I put on my LinkedIn. And she was asking for 6 days off after being out 3 weeks. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's just too much. You don't get to be out 3-4 weeks and take 6 days off. What are you thinking? But they go home on Friday. They don't come back until Monday. And there's a huge disconnect between what they expect for their lives and what they are doing and treating drivers.
Tammy, could you imagine if the office people had to stay after work for 6 hours? Mm-hmm. No warning, no nothing, just
no bathroom.
You can't go home until 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Period. No questions, no nothing. That's it. You have to stay until 8 o'clock. What would they do?
They'd quit.
Of course they would.
They wouldn't. Yeah.
Of course they would.
So, we know the horrors of the industry on the office side, and, drivers have their own accountability. What on the driver's side do you think being a professional driver means? I mean, what is your idea of a professional driver?
Just doing your job. You know what your job is. You know what you're there to do. Just do it.
Actually do it. Don't pretend you're doing
actually it. Do it. Exactly. That's it. To be a professional, that's all you have to do. They give you a paper that says this is your job. You come in, you know exactly what your job is. So just do it.
Yeah. And you were talking about a lot of the drivers are scared when they come out here. For women entering the industry, I think there's a lot of realities that they're not properly prepared for and not told. And, time away, especially moms with children. I see a lot of them on the board that they see that this is a way for financial independence, but they are expecting to come straight out of school and find a home daily 9-to-5 type job.
Right.
And that's just while they're there, they're unicorns, sometimes. Um, and definitely, not the straight out of school, gonna hop right into one atmosphere. So I think setting correct expectations would make this industry so much better.
Right. And the actual real expectations, not the ones that somebody wrote in a book or told you this is how, I mean, the real story, the real
Yeah,
thing.
not the office version, the
Right.
driver version.
Right. That's exactly it. The real version. I run across it all the time. They're like, why are you the person to do this? Because I know what it's really like.
Yeah.
I know what that transition is really like.
So, knowing that you started co-driver and then you saw another need in the industry and you are currently launching a new foundation.
I am. And I actually wanted to do this foundation since 2014.
Oh, wow.
It is.
So it's been in the making for a while.
Yes. I was in an accident. Um, it was a bad accident. A guy did suicide by truck, ran into us at 80 miles an hour. Me and my partner were both injured badly. I didn't know if I would be able to walk again. And we were out of the truck, couldn't drive. We were owner operators at the time. And we couldn't drive. We couldn't go back to work for 9 months. And we had like a disability short term, whatever the company has thing.
Thank
And
goodness.
it just doesn't, yeah, I mean, it helped, but it didn't do what it needs to do. And here's the worst part, Tammy, this is what I'm going to tell you. When we came home from we had to get ourselves home, hurt people, get ourselves home from where the accident happened in Texas to Missouri. And we're both injured and we have to drive ourselves. And then it takes them 2 weeks to get us to a doctor because we can only go to a certain doctor because workman's comp, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
So it was a nightmare for us. It was a complete, total nightmare. And then once we started getting paid, it was not nearly enough.
Do you know like what percentage of your income they paid? Was it like 50% or?
I think it was like 60%.
60.
Yeah, it was not enough because you know what a truck driver makes.
And it's not just what we make, but what we spend equals what we make.
Yeah,
I mean, our lifestyle, our house payments, our car payments,
right. And a truck payment. I had a truck payment at a time.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the truck's totaled, but it's not. It still has to be paid for and taken care of. So,
yes. So, we went through a lot of. My partner had like flashbacks. She was actually driving, and she actually saw the guy in the truck afterwards. So she had some mental health issues, and they would only let her see a mental health person 4 times. And she had problems for a couple of years after that. Honestly, she was never the same after that. So that's why I started Hart Driven, because there needs to be something that steps in when you're hurt or sick. Say you get sick on the road, you need to go to the hospital. You're stuck there. You're 1,000 miles from your home. What are you going to do? You got this truck, you need to get home. You need to get home eventually when you get out of the hospital. Maybe your family can't come get you. Maybe you only have one vehicle and your wife has to work or your husband has to work or whatever the situation. There needs to be someone that steps in and says, we're going to take your truck home. Not only that, when you get out of the hospital, we're going to take you home. And once you are home, we're not going to stop. We're going to give you mental health help. help you with your bills, help you with any kind of changes you need to make to your house while you're hurt or sick, whatever it may be. Just really help in any way, because we weren't helped at all, not even by the company we worked for. No one helped us. We nearly lost everything. And there needs to be something different. And I applied to so many foundations and charities that said they did exactly what I needed. And not one of them, not one, even replied back.
That's horrible. So what is so the name of the foundation is the Hart Driven Foundation. What is the actual mission statement of the foundation?
Basically to fill the gap in between when someone gets hurt and or sick away from home, and take care of all of their needs while they travel back home, and to be at home in any way we can.
Okay,
so that's what's needed.
So it's set up, designed to help truck drivers, and this is what, illness, accidents,
even if you're hurt at home.
Oh, even at home. So they break a leg at home and they're not able to go back to work.
Right. Anything that keeps you, that's not your fault, from driving a truck.
Okay. So, and this is for people who don't have insurance coverages for those, or is this take up the extra from what insurance doesn't cover?
Right. It's the gap in between what's covered and what's not, or what's not even offered. It's the fill in where people need it the most. It may look different for every person.
Right.
But there needs to be somebody that just walks up and says, "Here you go. I'm here to help you.
I'm here to help." So what kind of impact are you hoping to make?
I'm hoping to make it so that no driver has to experience what I did. I want to change it so that, honestly, I'm eventually hoping that we can come up with some kind of insurance that a driver can pay for that will do that. But there's nothing like that exists. And you can't count on the current things to take care of you.
Right.
So,
yeah. Companies with supplemental insurance, I mean, they're there to assist, but they definitely don't bridge the gap with a full income. I had to do short-term disability myself after surgery, and I think mine was 75%, which was nice. But again, when you have a mortgage and car payments and a lifestyle based on a certain income, surviving, the higher that number is, the easier you can survive. It's not like we're going to go out and sell our houses and move down to a smaller house immediately, or able to, if you're injured or critical, or, you can't make adjustments like that. And most people, especially in today's day and age, live paycheck to paycheck. They don't have a lot of savings.
Right. And especially truck drivers, we kind of have the mindset of, oh, we can spend this money because, more's coming.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that mindset very well.
It is. It's how we think. It's what we do.
It is. That's very honest. I mean, we're like, hey, I'm not going to lie. Yesterday, I'm like, I think I want to get some meta glasses, because I think some of the videos would be easier to record with meta glasses than holding a phone, or, and I don't need to save that money. I can just go out and buy what I want. And it's the same mentality. It's like, oh, let's buy this boat. Let's buy this motorcycle. Let's buy this, whatever. Let's,
you can take the trucker out of the truck, but not the truck driver out of your person.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think also there's a need, and this may not fall under Heart Driven, and it might, but I know you've come across it a lot too with new drivers who enter the industry and aren't prepared for the initial expenses that they're going to incur before the first check, whether it's essentials for the truck, whether it's just eating, showering. I mean, I've heard some horror stories where, in most instances, the trainer lets you fuel and they share shower credits, but I've heard where there's some out there who don't. And you're left with the expense of paying for showers or not showering. And a lot of new drivers aren't prepared for those initial expenses. And, there's a need to help them as well.
Yeah, there definitely is. I had never even thought of that, but I'm just going to add it now.
Thank you.
Because you're right. I nearly starved to death when I started driving, for real.
Yeah.
Because my trainer was not going to help in any way.
Yeah, I went to orientation one time with a company, and there was a girl, and I was an experienced driver. I was a trainer, but I had this girl come into orientation, and she was one of my students on the truck, and she was living on crackers, and like barely eating. And I'd go in and I'd eat, and I'd be like, "Are you going to eat?" And she'd be like, "No." And she didn't ask. She didn't ask for help. And about the second day, I'm like, "Okay, we're gonna talk, because you're not starving on my truck. Give me the brutal truth. Tell me where you're at, and let me help you get to your first check. Let me make sure you're taken care of." And I had a trainer that did that for me years ago, who came off, and his wife had packed this huge, cooler for the week of sandwich stuff and salads and all that. And it was awesome. And he knew that a lot of new trainees weren't financially prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of drivers aren't. There's a lot out there that are struggling that first little bit.
So I wrote a book, and actually in there it talks about being prepared for your first, 4 or 5 weeks of training, because you aren't going to get much of a paycheck. You've got to be prepared. You need to, before you go to school, you need to be saving up some money, because you need probably $150 to $200 a week just to survive for yourself.
Yes, that's just for the basics. That's
yes.
Not even, and that's pretty lean.
Yes.
I also say have a emergency fund, like a credit card, whether it's prepaid. That way, if something happens and you need a rental car, you need a hotel, you're not stranded. We've all heard horror stories with mismatches with trainers. What do you do if you get kicked out of the truck in the middle of nowhere?
Right.
And you're thousands of miles from home. Have a backup fund. And there's a need for that as well. Yeah. And there's a lot of gaps in the trucking industry where drivers need assistance like that.
There is.
So I'm great. I'm glad to see that with the Hart Driven and the co-driver that you are trying to address some of those.
Mm-hmm.
So back to Hart Driven Foundation. Are there some specific programs, resources, or initiatives that you're planning on rolling out with the foundation?
Really, my first initiative will be the drivers being hurt and sick. I actually right now I'm doing a basically it's a drive to get the initial donations in, because I'm already getting calls. I'm already being contacted by drivers that need help. So right now I'm doing a drive, and it's for founding members. There's 15 spots for people to give money, and they will be honored every year for as long as I own the foundation.
Great. Founding members. That's awesome.
Uh-huh.
What is your website for the Hart Driven?
Right now it is on yourcodriver.com. It is
Can
a
you spell
page
that?
on there. It's YOURCO-DRIVER.com.
I'm going to add that to the bottom of the page here.
Uh-huh.
See, there you go.
I also have a group on Facebook that is strictly for Hart Driven. It's open to everyone. I plan on putting updates and maybe some stories of who we're helping. And not everybody wants to tell the story. Not everybody wants to allow you to say anything. That's what I've been
Right.
finding, actually, because I'm like, oh, I want to put this on my group, but they're like, please don't. So I mean, what can I do? What can I do? So
they don't want you to they even if you take their name out of it.
I never even considered that.
Take their name out of it. I share. You see what I share. I mean, and there are some, if they publicly put their name out there, I do, but there's a lot of stuff that I hide. I protect the person involved. But yes, protect the person involved, but put the story out there, because that's the problem with the industry is so many of these stories and so much of the harsh realities are hidden, and they get zero attention. And it's really important that the public and the industry both realize some of these things are happening.
Yes, very much so. So yeah, I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start asking them if I can use their story, tell how we help them without their names, maybe.
Yeah, that would be a great way to do it. There's some great stories out there that need to be heard, and I'm sure you have plenty that you've heard already.
Yes. For the last couple of days, I've been posting stories on LinkedIn about friends and my partner that went through the same situation as me, and their same experience of asking for help, where you're supposed to ask for help, and there was none to be had. So my goal is to really do what I say I'm going to do.
That's important. That's important.
I always say my word is my bond. So I'm going to help if I possibly have any way to do so.
That's awesome. And drivers need that. So, anything else you want to put out there about the Hart Driven Foundation? When you're going to be ready for applicants, when, it's going to be ready for drivers to reach out to you in the event of they need help. When are you planning on having that ready to go?
That all depends on the IRS. I mean, honestly, it is. I've filed all my paperwork, everything's in, but you have to wait for the IRS to say. So I'm kind of leery of doing too much, because I don't want to have any problems. Right. Am I helping people now? Yes.
Absolutely.
But no, it's just I can't do too much right now yet. But it's coming.
Limited. Yeah. Helping but limited. Okay. Limited. Good to know people, because they might listen and be like, oh, hey, I just got injured, so I'm gonna go look Jennifer up. But you're kind of restricted on what you can do. So it's coming, people. It's coming.
It is coming.
So before we close out today, I do want to ask, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here.
All right.
And I know this is a hard question, and I get told every time I ask this question, oh, that's a hard one. If you could change one thing, you only get to pick one. I know there's a lot, but if you could change one thing about the trucking industry tomorrow, you wake up and it's changed, what would it be?
How drivers are looked at.
Perception.
Mm-hmm.
And is that the perception from the industry or the perception from the public?
All of it. All of it? Yeah, because I feel like we're looked at as expendable.
We are looked at as expendable. You are correct. And AI is coming down the line, and pretty soon there's going to, drivers are going to be weeded out. So next question.
Okay.
What advice would you give to a new driver coming into our industry right now?
Get help if you need it.
Yeah, don't be
Ask
afraid to reach out.
questions. Ask any kind of questions to anyone that will listen to you. Because I didn't do that. I kept it all quiet.
So one of the things you learn in high school, I'm just going to put this out there. How many teachers have said the only stupid question is the one you didn't ask?
Right.
And that goes over in trucking. I mean, the only stupid question is the one you didn't ask.
Yes.
So ask.
Very much
so. It's okay. So besides Co-Driver website, where else can people find you and follow your work?
Your Co-Driver is on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I have a couple of different groups under Your Co-Driver. I also do a group through Women in Trucking once a month for new drivers.
Are you on Engage?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm on all the platforms except for a few, but you can find me, Google me, it comes up. I do have my own personal Facebook, TikTok, yada yada. But you can find me anywhere. And my email is jhartung@yourcodriver.com.
Okay. And I will put that on our description when this is over. So if everybody wants to pull it up, they can. I'll make sure and tag that in there. And is there anything else you would like to share with our audience today before we close out?
Yes, if you would like to contribute to the foundation, email me and I will tell you how. And I would appreciate
or
smallest things, even the dollar.
I'll also she has some really nice graphics that I will be sharing on my webpage as well. I'll throw on a nice little section for her after this broadcast today. And then if you want to go to truckinwithtamie.com, you can pull up Jennifer, all her links and how to reach her as well. Well, Jennifer, it's been great having you on today. It's always nice to hear different drivers' perspectives and their journey. I really love hearing all the, not just the bad, but the good parts of it.
Right.
And I hope that you are very successful with your new foundation. And, assisting drivers because they really need an advocate like you in their corner.
Yes.
All right, guys, that's it with Truckin' with Tamie today. I will see you next Tuesday. Again, we stream at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find us on Reach Across America Radio, as well as Truckin' with Tamie on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and generally wherever podcasts are streamed. Have a great evening.